And welcome to Hiroshima in Japan, scene of the first IAAF World Challenge Road Relay. There you see the teams ready for this inaugural IAAF event, a relay event around the marathon distance. A terrific turnout of teams from all over the world. You see 12 teams there in the men's race and 10 in the women's race, representing every top international country. On the track now in the stadium here, the runners for the women's event, 10 of them, and they're the home supporters, of course, very keen to see Japan do well in this race. That's Sayori Terakoshi of Japan. There's Tatiana Kazankina of the Soviet Union, former world record holder at 800 meters and still the world record holder at 1,500 and 3,000 meters. There's for the Federal Republic of Germany, Charlotte Tesker, the marathon runner, and for France, Maria Leloute. And very soon now, the gun will go to start them on 2 laps of this stadium track to get them underway on the first leg, which will be 10 kilometers. And what happens is that as the ladies line up, they are wearing the sashes you can see around them, which act as the equivalent of relay battens in track races, and they will be running on to the 10-kilometer point where they'll hand those sashes over to their teammates. And in the background there we hear the traditional Japanese crackers, firecrackers going off. I hope none of the runners feel there's a recall. I don't think they will. They're expecting this to happen. Of course, terrific Japanese hospitality for this race. The Japanese doing their usual immaculate organisation job here in this city, which of course has been completely rebuilt since 1945, where Hiroshima was of course the scene of the first atomic bomb. Now very much the city of peace. It's Leloute of France at the moment, just leading this group of 10 runners on the first of the 2 laps of the track they do inside the stadium. The relay legs themselves vary in length. A little later on we're seeing the men's race where there are 5 stages in all, but the women's race has 6 stages. And this first stage, as I say, will be 10 kilometers. Then they hand over to the second leg runners who run 7 kilometers. The third leg is 8. The fourth leg is 5 kilometers. The fifth leg for the women is 8 kilometers. And then the final leg is 4.195 kilometers, which brings it up to the full marathon distance of 42.195 kilometers. Or that's 26 miles, 385 yards. So still Leloute of France leading there, and of course nothing in it at the moment. The runners in this very early stage just quite content to just keep together, keep an eye on each other, and it'll be interesting to see which of them the first break. An unusual event, of course, this, but for the women not quite as unusual as for the men, because in fact here in Japan for some 4 years now they've held an event like this called the Ekiden Relay, with a series of stages making up the full marathon distance. The previous race this year was held in Yokohama, and now it's being made into an international world relay challenge event by the IAAF. Just moving up to Leloute's shoulder there is Paula Fudge from the United Kingdom, and still no sign of any sort of break as the runners begin to look towards the moment where they'll be getting out on the road. In the background there in the black, you can see Lorraine Moller, who was silver medalist in the Commonwealth Games marathon in Edinburgh earlier this year. This 10 kilometers will probably be the short side for her, though of course she is a very experienced track runner. Just in 3rd place there in the red vest of the USA, Marty Cooksey, who ran so well in the IAAF Women's 15-kilometer World Championship in Lisbon a short while ago. She finished 4th in that race after being up with the leaders all the way, and never in fact led, just ended up being out-sprinted in the final stages of that race. I wonder whether we'll see her go ahead earlier in this particular event, just 10 kilometers. Now with the clock just ticking over 3 1/4 minutes, the runners turning right there out of the stadium, and crowd giving them a warm reception as they head out there. And Lorraine Moller in the black for the Oceania team, the New Zealand team rather, just heading out into the lead. And we can see on the map there how this course goes. This first 10 kilometers leg heads out towards the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park and passes the ancient Hiroshima Castle before the first takeover, and the runners do loop round. You see the teams follow this out and back course, which totals 42 kilometers back to the stadium there, and that is where the final leg runners, the sixth leg runners in the case of the women, will be heading. Here we see Lorraine Moller and Marty Cooksey together. It's 5.9 kilometers covered at the stage, and Cooksey looks like she's beginning to push the pace on here a little bit. Moller also quite relaxed, and just behind them there in the red we can see Kazankina of the Soviet Union, member of the winning team of the IAAF Women's 15-kilometer team championship earlier this year. But she does seem to be having a bit of trouble here. Just over 6 kilometers gone of the 10 they have to run. And it does seem like Moller back for New Zealand and Cooksey in the red for the United States are definitely breaking away. The New Zealand team is particularly strong, as is the American team. But we would expect Kazankina to stay a little bit closer to them at this stage. The Soviet Union obviously would be very keen to add this team challenge title to their 15K title. And here we see Cooksey has broken away, in fact, and coming up to the end of what will be this 10-kilometer stage. She is well clear there of Moller. Clock showing 32 minutes and 15 seconds as she hands over here to Francie Smith, formerly Francie Leroux, who has had a very long and distinguished career. Lorraine Moller coming home in second place now. She'll be handing over to Hazel Stewart for the team in their traditional black vests. You see the sash is the important thing that has to be handed over. Here's Hazel Stewart waiting to take the sash from Lorraine Moller, and off she goes. Not the smoothest of exchanges, I would have thought, but obviously it's something they don't do very, very often. The Americas team perhaps have been practicing a little bit more. That was Nancy Rooks, Canadian, handing over to Alison Wiley, another Canadian. Perhaps they've had a chance to practice. Now this is Francie Smith, as she now is. Francie Leroux, as we did know her some years ago. Very, very experienced runner who has done so well indoors, on the track, and on the roads in the United States. And she heading off with this lead for the United States. And we can see that Alison Wiley for the Americas team has in fact overtaken Hazel Stewart of New Zealand and is setting off after Francie Smith. There's just over 13 kilometers gone. This stage is 7 kilometers, and they're actually heading back at this point towards the stadium. It doesn't quite reach the stadium, but just turns off shortly beforehand. The Soviet team at Rodchenkova is overtaking Yamauchi of Japan, and with 16.8 kilometers covered, it'll be coming up to the second changeover very, very shortly. There's Francie Smith still in that lead, and waiting to take the sash from her is Lisa Welsh. And we'll see how they get on with this change. This is at the 17-kilometer point. It dates back to the traditions of the old Japanese postal system, this particular handing over of the sash. That was a much better change than managed on the first takeover. So Lisa Welsh underway with this lead, quite a large lead. We can see a long, clear gap behind her. We'll see if Alison Wiley is still in second place for the Americas team. Yes, here she is. She's coming in to hand over now. And Alison Wiley hands over to Susan Stone. And for the New Zealand team, Hazel Stewart handing over to Mary O'Connor. The tiny figure there of Mary O'Connor, a 2:28 marathon runner. And this stage of only 8 kilometers, which is less than a fifth of a marathon, will probably seem a little bit short to her. There's Mary O'Connor. A little bit disappointed with her season this year. She was hoping for big things in the Commonwealth Games. Waiting on the start line there for the United States team, that's Charlie Habashat. And Lisa Welsh coming in to hand over to her. This will be the fourth exchange. Hanging around, waiting is probably to this. But you know, she's got a lead, and the lead is not enormous because you can see in the background behind her for the Americas team. She has a quick look over her shoulder there. Looks as though Susan Stone may have moved up and closed that gap with 25 kilometers gone. That's just over half distance there for the New Zealand team now. That is Sue Bruce taken over there from Mary O'Connor, and the Americas team have in fact fallen back a little bit here. This is Santa Velasquez, who will be taking over from Susan Stone for the Americas team. They are in third place at this particular point, and you see a great battle going on behind. And that is the fourth Soviet runner, Guskova, Svetlana Guskova. And just behind there, that is the British team, and that is Melissa Watson, who's taken over there from Sue Crean. Now 26.6 kilometers gone, and the Americans still holding that lead, looking very comfortable at the moment, I'd say. It's a very flat course. This is the same course that was used for the IAAF World Marathon Cup last year, and it's a very fast course. You can see it's very well surfaced, mainly flat. And Sue Bruce is in second place now for New Zealand, followed by Guskova for the Soviet Union, and Melissa Watson for Great Britain, and Velasquez for the Americas. But we're coming to the next change now, and still the United States have that lead with 1 hour and 38 minutes. And it's Haberstadt handing to Brewer for the States. That's Diane Brewer just taken off there. And for New Zealand, that's Sue Bruce handing over to Anne Ordain. Now, Anne Ordain, silver medalist in the Commonwealth Games 10,000 meters earlier this year, will be a very, very important part, surely, in the New Zealand challenge for this event. She's anxiously waiting to take that sash. Look at her. And she's off, anxious to take the lead from the Americas. At the handover for the Soviet Union, that's Guskova handing over to Olga Bondarenko, the World Cup 10,000 meters silver medalist in Canberra. And Ordain and Bondarenko matching strides there. They can see in front the American team, and Bondarenko certainly very anxious to get back on terms. And Anne Ordain, who is one of the top road runners on the American circuit, very, very experienced over there, but has also done a great deal for England. And here we can see the length of the gap here, because they are definitely closing on the American team here. This is Diane Brewer in front for the American team, and not looking too comfortable at this particular point. And in fact, the Soviet team, Bondarenko and Anne Ordain for New Zealand, are helping each other, and this is certainly an advantage for them to be running alongside each other. Diane Brewer can't see them, and they are running alongside each other and closing that gap. They can see Brewer. Brewer must be aware now that they're there, but Ordain on the right in the black for New Zealand, just after, well, coming up to the 36 kilometer point now. And very, very soon it looks like the Soviet Union and New Zealand will be right up there with the United States, and we're going to have a terrific finish here, I can tell. Diane Brewer still doing her best to hold on to that lead, but Ordain, I think, looking actually the fresher of the chase there. Tiny figure of Olga Bondarenko, who, as they go into the lead now, they both pass the United States. Diane Brewer now well aware of exactly where they are. Bondarenko had the misfortune in the World Cup to miscount those laps on the 10,000 meters when she seemed to have certain victory in her grasp, and lost the race on the last lap to Aurora Cunha of Portugal. But here's Ordain looking extremely comfortable. She had, again, disappointing run in the Commonwealth Games when she came up against Scotland's Liz Lynch, who took the gold medal from her. And meanwhile, waiting anxiously on the start line there is Anne Hare of New Zealand, who has the unenviable task of holding on to this lead, which Anne Ordain has managed to get ahead of the Soviet Union. And Anne Hare is normally an 800, 1500 meter runner, has to run over 4 kilometers in this last event, this last of the event. Bondarenko coming in to hand over now to Tatiana Samolenko for the Soviet Union, and it's certainly between these two now, I would say, with just 4 kilometers, just over 4 kilometers left to run on this final stage. And for the American team, that's Judy McCreary waiting to take the sash from Diane Brewer in 3rd place. And 2 hours 5 minutes gone on the clock now. And here on the last leg is Anne Hare for New Zealand. And really 4 kilometers is going to seem a long, long way for her out in front, holding on to New Zealand's hopes. And behind her, Samolenko for the Soviet Union. And here in 3rd place, Judy McCreary for the United States. That's the view from behind Samolenko's shoulder. She can see Anne Hare there. New Zealand very, very keen to win this. They had a great disappointment at the World Cross Country Championships, where they were first of all declared the team winners in Neuchâtel earlier this year, and then a recount on the scores showed they'd only finished 2nd, in fact, so they were very disappointed on that occasion. That would have been their first ever victory in an IAAF team event. So they're going all out to make sure of no mistakes today. Anne Ordain, a terrific run there on that 5th leg to take them into the lead. And Anne Hare here now doing exceptionally well. She really is into no man's land now. This is just over 2 kilometers, just under 2 kilometers rather, left to run. And she looks very, very strong, in fact. And I don't think that gap is growing at all. She seems, if anything, to have opened the gap. McCreary here for the United States, well clear in 3rd place, but I don't think she's making any impression on the Soviet team. So just 1 kilometer left now. 1 kilometer left for Anne Hare for New Zealand. Lining the course there. It's always great enthusiasm in Japan for these road events. Very well organized, and there's always a long, long crowd stream waiting to see the runners through. Here is Samolenko, and I think she's beginning to wonder if she's going to get a chance to close that gap, and it looks to me with just half a kilometer left as Anne Hare comes back into the stadium. Very soon she'll be able to get onto the track, and that surely should signify that she is home. Here she is coming back into the stadium now. Now, can we see what the gap is? Where is Samolenko? Can New Zealand finally get this team event? They had that big disappointment at the World Cross Country Championships earlier this year, but I think there'll be no mistake this time. Have just a lap of the track to do. She has 400 meters left to go now. You can see the tape is already waiting there, and it must have been a great temptation to have gone straight into the finish, but of course she couldn't. She has to do 1 lap of the track. But here, Samolenko not looking as though she's going to close that gap. She's clear in 2nd place, and Anne Hare has a quick look over her shoulder. She sees where Samolenko is, and she must feel that the title is New Zealand's. This first ever inaugural IAAF World Relay Championship. Here comes the American team onto the track in 3rd place. So we have the first 3 teams all in the stadium now, but I think the first 3 medal places have already been decided. And she's right up on her toes like the track runner that she is, and she has just something like 100 meters, I think, left to the finish. And this will be a great moment for New Zealand to have won this title, to have beaten the States and the Soviet Union in this event, as well as many other teams who were chosen from the results of the World Cross Country Championships earlier this year. Crowd there, very, very excited. This wasn't necessarily the result everybody predicted, but it's been a marvellous performance by the New Zealand team. And here comes in there, stops her watch. Obviously doesn't trust in the technology, but we'll be getting her split time on that particular leg, and everybody else is, of course, to the nearest second, the nearest 10th of a second, in fact. And here, the Soviet Union team just finishing in 2nd place. Samolenko bringing them home. It's about 15 seconds, the gap. Anne Hare obviously feeling it, because it was a long, long way for somebody who normally runs 800 and 1500 meters on the track. But nonetheless, delighted and exhausted, and that's the best sort of exhaustion for her, that New Zealand at last have got that team title.
So a marvellous performance there by the New Zealand women in bringing off a stunning upset in that inaugural relay, a road race relay held in Hiroshima just a few weeks later.